I got this SIBO kit to do at home, which claims to be fairly simple to do. And in all fairness, it is simple, but there are some certain elements that can really trip you up right even before you start the test. I decided to document both doing the test and also how I felt during the test, because it's one thing to know what to do, it's quite another thing to understand what to expect. The kit contains a symptom sheet, a prepaid mailing bag, the glucose substrate which you're going to mix into water, a patient information leaflet with instructions, some labels that you're going to need to label the bottle, and you'll need to complete all those labels as you go, a straw to breathe into the tubes with, and 10 sample tubes. You're actually going to need to reutilize the bubble wrap. You'll be putting the tubes back in these packages, so just be really careful how you open them. There is a list of contents on the inside of the package and also a QR code which sends you to a virtual symptom sheet and also supposedly a step-by-step walkthrough of the test. Now, I didn't find this step-by-step walkthrough by scanning the QR code. It took me to a website which then asked me to fill in a lot of personal details, which I did, but I wasn't really comfortable with. And basically, it's a website that gathers the information, and it means that it will actually send you reminders every 15 minutes to complete the data that you would normally complete on the sheet. Now, this is not really clear up front, so if you prefer to fill in all the details electronically, you can actually do so. I actually used the piece of paper because I didn't want the hassle of trying to struggle with my phone whilst trying to record at the same time. Bizarrely, you have 2 weeks to send this test back to base. And yet, if you read the instructions, if you have had any probiotics in the last couple of days, you must not do the test for 2 weeks. So it's a bit bizarre, because how can I send the test back if actually upon receiving the test, I just had a probiotic and therefore I'm not eligible to do the test? Anyway, so that's one of those traps that can trip you up right beforehand. You do also have to fast for 24 hours before starting this test, which I did. You'll need a pen to complete the symptom sheet, a glass of 200 ml of water to make the substrate, a timer. I used my phone to time the 15-minute intervals, and also a teaspoon just to stir the substrate in. The first thing you'll need to do is to mix the substrate into the water and then set it aside. It actually wasn't so easy to open the packet, so a pair of scissors would have come in useful, but it's not absolutely essential. After doing a search on YouTube, my husband found an internet video with instructions, which you're hearing in the background.
Avoid any probiotic and acid suppression medications like Prilosec, Pepcid, Nexium 2 weeks prior to completing this test. It's also important for you to avoid any antibiotic use, at least in your mouth.
Before taking the substrate, you will need to do a baseline sample, so don't drink it. I almost did. Don't drink it. First, do the baseline sample. The samples are pretty easy to take. You just blow through the straw, and when the bottle fills with condensation, you then put the cap on it. So you blow for about 3 to 5 seconds and then pop the cap on it. You don't have to screw it too tight. Now, I didn't mix the substrate beforehand, so it is useful to do that beforehand, because now you have to down this liquid pretty quick. It's glucose, it's sweet, it's super sweet, and you're drinking a lot of it very quickly. So I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for this. It's not even like drinking sugar. It's worse than that. So once I got over the shock of the drink, I completed the label for that baseline sample. I set the timer and then completed the symptoms sheet. So they're expecting you to document whether you feel nauseous, whether you feel bloated, and other symptoms that you might have. You can also put in the comments box. I began to feel rubbish fairly swiftly. I was bloated, my pain went through the roof, and I definitely felt like I was sick. I also felt as if I wanted to go and use the toilet. That was in the initial effect. After having fasted for 24 hours, this was really an awful sensation to go through because my stomach literally was popping out and I felt so fatigued by the whole thing. Now you're going to need to do 10 samples, so you have to set aside about 3 hours of time to do this test. It is not something you can rush through. Once the test was complete, I placed the 10 sample bottles in the bubble wrap into the box along with the symptoms sheet, and then placed everything into the prepaid grey mailing bag. If you do have the problem that the test is looking for, I can guarantee you're going to feel pretty rubbish for quite a while. I didn't just feel rubbish during this test. I continued to feel rubbish. My bloating just carried on for the rest of the day. My stomach did not go back down. It was truly awful. They say you can pop it into a post box, but I actually just took it to the Royal Mail Depot Centre because I wanted to make sure that it was well received by Royal Mail. And it is a track 24 post, so by tomorrow they should have it, and within 5 days we should have some results. Let me know how you found doing this test kit, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have below. Thanks for watching. Hope this video was useful.